What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 65. Sergey Spivak going against Derek Lewis.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another betting breakdown video. This week, breaking down UFC Vegas 65. We got a 12-fight card. And yeah, it's sketchy. I mean, this is probably one of my least favorite betting cards on the year. Coming off of a monster week last week where I had like 16 bets. This is a card where I only have, it looks like I have 5 bets. So going very light, a couple parlays, just not a lot sticking out. A card where I feel like you can make a case for the majority of these dogs. Just a card I'm content with just kind of keeping it light. You know, bankroll management is definitely key. And this is one that I'm not too excited about from a betting perspective, but as always, here to break it down. If you guys want a further in-depth breakdown on why I'm picking which fighter, on why I'm betting what, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video on Monday. But I say we get into it, and we'll start with the first fight of the night, Natalia Silva, Teresa Bleda. We got Silva minus 165, Bleda plus 140. What I noticed at weigh-ins was Bleda was much, much bigger, which is interesting. I ended up picking Silva. I'm not betting her. I see a lot of people taking the shot on the Bleda side, and I don't completely hate that. Silva did show very good takedown defense in her fight against Jasmine Jasudavicius after coming off of a couple-year layoff. Just looked like a completely different fighter. So I lean Silva, but I'm not going out there and laying chalk on her. It is probably dog or pass, if anything, but one I'm content to just pass on. But the pick's going to be Silva for me with not a ton of confidence. Brady Hiestand going against Fernie Garcia. Hiestand minus 170, Garcia plus 145. Brady, a very popular play this week. A lot of money coming in on him, and I get it. He has this style to go out there and I think give Fernie Garcia some problems. Mixing in takedowns, just relentless. Solid cardio to be able to keep at that pace for 15 minutes. We're in the small cage as well, which I do think favors a guy like Brady Hiestand. If you guys have prize picks, they have like the over takedowns at like 2.5. I think BetOnline had the over takedowns at like 3.5. I think if he wins that fight, like he has like 10 takedown upside because Fernie Garcia can be taken down, but his get-up game is very good. In terms of placing a bet on Brady, I just can't get there. I mean, this fight kind of sketches me out a little bit just because I could see a scenario where Brady does get a lot of takedowns but does nothing with them, where, you know, Fernie is able to stand up each time, and on the feet, it's Fernie all day. It's not even close, and I do think this fight goes to decision, so you got to, you know, put the judges into it, and I don't know. I like Brady to win here, but nothing I'm running to the window for this one. So Brady's the pick, Brady by decision, no bet. Vanessa Demopoulos going against Maria Oliveira. About to pick him here. I kind of like the Demopoulos by sub. It opened up on FanDuel at like plus 440. I was actually sleeping when it opened up, and when I woke up, it was like plus 340, so it got completely smashed. So if you got on that, good job. I mean, I think Demopoulos is very live for a submission if the fight hits the mat, but that's kind of the thing with Demopoulos. If the fight hits the mat, she has like a, and we can bring it up here, Demopoulos has like a, is it like an 8% accuracy? A 7% takedown accuracy, and, you know, do we really want to trust her to go out there and get that takedown? Not really. I mean, the striking is Oliveira all day, and especially since Oliveira has a massive reach advantage. It's a pick him for a reason. It's, you know, does Demopoulos get this fight down to the mat? If she does, I think she's live for the sub. If not, she's going to eat punches with her face over 15 minutes. So another fight I'm not really interested in betting. Moving on, Ricky Turcios going against Kevin Natividad. Yeah, kind of tempted in Turcios here, but you know, this guy is so untrustworthy. The last performance against Ayman Zahabi, just awful performance. And I think that's why we're seeing the line where it's at, because, you know, Turcios, I like this guy. You know, this is a guy that is extremely active the entire fight. He's always throwing something. And that was kind of the case in the Zahabi fight. The problem was he just didn't land anything. He landed his strikes at like an 11% accuracy against Zahabi. He did attempt over like 200 so significant strikes, but just, you know, hit air the majority of the time. This is a fight where I feel like Natividad could potentially go back to takedowns here. He hasn't done it yet in the UFC, but it's something he did outside the UFC. I believe he does have a wrestling background, so maybe he's going to go out there and take down Turcios, which I think he can, but Turcios' great scrambling ability, great get-up game. I feel like this fight does primarily play out on the feet, and when it does, I gotta favor Turcios here, but I'm hoping that performance was just like a one-off, because he's never looked that bad before, but yeah, he looked awful in his last fight. So I think we're getting kind of a buy low spot on Turcios, but at the same time, I just don't know if I can trust this guy. So, especially at chalk. So another fight where I'm leaning Turcios. I'm semi-tempted on Turcios, but one I'm just okay with passing at this point. Miles Johns going against Vince Morales. Miles Johns is coming in here on short notice, which is a little bit of a concern considering Miles Johns has slowed down in fights in the past, but I think it's a very winnable matchup as long as he comes in here with the right game plan. I think he can go out there and wrestle Morales if he wants to. Morales' takedown defense is very poor, but it's just not something Johns has done. Like the last several fights, he has no takedowns, and which is weird because he's a very good wrestler, and I feel like he can exploit that 46% takedown defense of Morales. It's just he hasn't went to that wrestling at all. Is he going to here? I mean, I'd like him to, but will he have the cardio to keep up that pace for 15 minutes? I don't know. So, yeah, I like Miles Johns. I just don't really like the price here. I don't really like any props as well for this one. I could see a potential finish. I'm kind of leaning Johns by decision, but it would be the Johns money line if anything, but another one where the short notice aspect of things kind of sketches me out. Another one where the fight IQ in a way, because I think he could easily win this fight if he goes to the takedown route, but I don't know if he's going to do that. So give me Miles Johns for a pick. Not betting this one. Next we have Marina Moroz going against Jennifer Maia. Moroz minus 190. Maia is plus 160. I think the fight goes to decisions. A very solid parlay piece this week. Both fighters extremely durable. Maia 9 losses, 7 by decision. Marina Moroz 3 losses, all 3 of them come by decision. So I think the fight goes to decision as a parlay piece. If anything, this is a fight where Jennifer Maia has some of the most frustrating fight IQ I've ever seen in my life. I mean, she could easily win this fight if she would wrestle, but how many times do we say, oh, Jennifer Maia could win this fight if she wrestles, and she doesn't? I mean, she doesn't wrestle, which is really weird because she's very good on the mat, but she never does it. So she's probably going to strike with Moroz, and Moroz is probably going to be the one getting takedowns just because she's going to be able to go out there and attempt those takedowns, whereas Maia, she just doesn't do it. So I think the fight goes as a parlay piece, if anything, but not touching a money line side here. Charles Johnson going against Zhalgas Zhumagulov. I think it could be close just because Zhumagulov, every single fight he's in is close. Just about every single fight is a split decision that can go either way. So I expect this one to play out kind of the same. I think it's going to be close, and at that point, you probably take the dog shot on Zhumagulov at plus 140. I think the split decision prop is in play. I'm not betting that though, because every time I bet a split decision prop, the fight ends in like the very first round. So no bet on this one for me, but I think it's gonna be a close fight, one I really don't want anything to do with. If anything, it's probably a dog or pass. Charles Johnson, the better striker, but Zhumagulov does throw with some power. He can mix in takedowns. We have seen Charles Johnson struggle getting taken down in the past. So dog or pass, if anything, but pass. All right, guys. Enough with the passing. I have a bet on every single fight from here on out. Yeah, these prelims are sketchy prelims, untrustworthy fighters, close fight. I mean, sketchy. So I'm staying away from the prelims here. Let's get to this main card. And I do have 3 parlays on this card. They're all on the main card, and I will touch on what all 3 of those parlays are towards the end of the video. But if I have something parlayed, I'll say it's a parlay piece, and this is the first parlay piece I have. I got Jack Della Maddalena as a parlay piece. I did parlay him with something on last week's card. The Ryan Spann fight doesn't go to decision, and I parlayed him at minus 450. And he's around like minus 500, minus 550. I did see he went to like minus 700 for a second, but he did come right back, and I think it's like minus 650. So it's kind of all over the place, but he's a big favorite nonetheless. And I think it's a solid parlay piece, and I also think that the fight doesn't go to decision is a solid parlay piece as well. Jack Della Maddalena finished in both of his losses. Danny Roberts finished in 5 out of 6 of his losses, and yeah, I think it's a really bad matchup for Danny Roberts here. We see that Jack Della Maddalena is the biggest favorite on the card by a mile. The next big favorite, I think, is Waldo Cortez Acosta, that we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, Danny Roberts, he's taken a ton of damage. He's now 35 years old. He took a lot of damage in his last fight against 43-year-old Francisco Trinaldo, and that fight was just a really bad look to me. Trinaldo was hurting with everything he was landing. Roberts was wobbling around the cage for the full 15 minutes, and I'm kind of shocked if Trinaldo did not finish him. But there was one point where he very well could have finished him, but he went for a takedown instead. I feel like Jack finishes him here, and I feel like he finishes him very early. I like Jack as a parlay piece. I like the fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece. I think Jack Della Maddalena finishes Danny Roberts, and probably in the first round. Next, we have Muslim Salikov going against Andre Fiallo. We have about to pick him here. yeah, Fialho looked in incredible shape. This is a fight that he wants to definitely bounce back from getting just embarrassed by Jake Matthews in his last fight. This is a fight where I love violence. I think the fight doesn't go to decisions. A very good look. I think it's a very good parlay piece, and I do have a parlay we'll talk about with what in a little bit. But yeah, I think the fight doesn't go to decisions the way to go. I think somebody's getting knocked out. Fialho very dangerous, but Fialho defensively just very irresponsible, very hittable, blocks punches with his face, and we can take a look at his significant strike differential here. So he lands 3.78 significant strikes per minute. He's absorbing 6.65 for a negative 2.87 significant strike differential, which has to be like one of the worst in the I mean, it's terrible. And a 48% strike in defense. So although Fialho is very dangerous, he is very hittable, and he is very chinny as well. I mean, he's getting dropped and hurt by Jake Matthews. He's getting wobbled by Cameron Van Camp. So yeah, I think somebody's getting knocked out here for sure. So give me the fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece. Not too confident on a side, but I think somebody's getting knocked out. All right. Next, we have the 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week, and I unfortunately have a bet on this one. I hate it. Absolutely hate it, but the line just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. And I'll be honest, I was probably going to bet Sherman at plus 150 earlier in the week, and he's now plus 190, which this line doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I know Sherman's very bad, but, you know, I always have this rule. I mean, don't fade a bad fighter with a bad fighter. And Waldo Cortez Acosta, I mean, he's okay, but he barely squeaked past, like, Jared Vanderaa in his last fight. And not only that, I mean, narrative aside, I think this is a close fight. I think it's very close. I think it's 50-50. So this line just really puzzles me. Like, is Sherman coming in here with like an injury? You know, maybe an undisclosed knee injury, maybe an undisclosed shoulder. I'm not sure what's going on with this line because I see this as a very close fight. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Sherman's fought the much better competition. He's you know, more active in terms of significant strikes. He's had a full camp. You know, he's supposed to fight Josh Parisian a couple weeks back. That fight fell out. He's getting this one here, and you know, the narrative is, you know, Waldo just fought like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. He took a ton of damage on his leg. I mean, the dude was limping in the first round, and now he's going against Chase Sherman, who knocked out Jared Vanderaa, and a Chase Sherman who, a guy that does throw a lot of leg kicks. I think it's 50-50. So, I mean, the line's just puzzling. I mean, it could Acosta knock him out, I suppose, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. So, but instead of taking the money line on Chase Sherman, I saw this line on Bet Online on Monday, and I thought it was a mistake. I thought it was a mistake line, but it wasn't. It wasn't. It's Chase Sherman, scorecards equals no action. The finish only here for Chase Sherman, and I got it at plus 250, and that line's actually plus 260 on FanDuel Sportsbook. So the fight goes to decision, the bet voids, which I like because Chase Sherman's like 1-4 in decisions. So yeah, Chase Sherman, no scorecards, plus 250. And for one, I think that should be a pick'em at worst. Like, Chase Sherman's the better finisher. Chase Sherman, a 94% finish rate, finishing all but one of his wins. Waldo Cortez Acosta only a 63% finish rate. Yes, Acosta's never been finished, but he hasn't. The best guy he's fought is like Jared Vanderaa, who Sherman finished. So I don't know. I don't recommend betting on this fight, but the line just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So unless Sherman's coming in here like on one leg, like I don't know why the price is where it's at. I know Sherman sucks, but my goodness, he doesn't suck that bad. So yeah, give me the scorecards, no action, half a unit, plus 250. It's plus 260 on FanDuel. Do I feel good about it? No, but the line is off by a mile, at least in my opinion. Watch Acosta knock him out, which it could happen. Acosta could knock him out, but my goodness, I don't know. Moving on. Goodness. Can't believe that's a fight on the main card, and I can't believe I'm betting on it. You know, shame on me. Shame on me for betting on that fight. Kennedy and Nzechukwu going against Ian Cutelaba. Something that really stuck out today at weigh-ins was a nice Cutelaba, a non-angry Cutelaba at the weigh-ins, a guy that typically is going crazy in the weigh-ins. He's screaming in your face, but this time Cutelaba was like shaking Kennedy's hand. He even put his arm around him and they took a picture together. Like, I like that. I like that a lot, especially as a guy that is picking Ian Cutelaba. But we know the story with Cutelaba. He's going to go out there early on, and he's going to try to take your head off. He's going to try to take you down and pound you out on the mat. And I think that's very much so on the table. Ian Cutelaba, the dude has, 16 wins? 16 wins. 13 of those 16 wins come in the very first round. Kennedy, he's a Homer Simpson. That's his style. That's his game plan. Going in there and letting his opponent beat the crap out of him until his opponent gasses out. We've seen that time and time again. I don't know if you want to Homer Simpson yourself against Cutelaba, though. I mean, that's a bold strategy there, just going in there and just trying to Homer Simpson your way out of that first round. I don't know if it's going to work. But yeah, if Kennedy makes it out of the first round, he can very well take over. Cutelaba slows down as the fight goes on. I don't hate the Cutelaba money line, but what I did was I just took a quarter unit shot on Cutelaba to win by first round knockout at plus 800 on BetOnline, which is by far the best price out there. I think that's how he wins. I think if Cutelaba wins, it is probably a first round finish. Kennedy starts super slow, very hittable early on, and Cutelaba is going to have opportunities. So I like Cutelaba to win, and I do have a quarter unit shot in the first round knockout. I think if you like Kennedy, it'd be kind of foolish to take the minus 180. Like, why not live bet him after the first round? Because there's a very good chance he loses the first round. So if you like Kennedy, and that's something I'll be looking at too, just live bet the guy after the first round. But yeah, the pick for me is Cutelaba, and I'm taking a quarter unit shot on the first round knockout. I think that's his win condition. And then the main event, Sergey Spivak going against Derek Lewis. Yeah, Derek Lewis fights are some of the hardest fights to call. A lot of times it doesn't really make sense. A lot of times I'm very confident in the other side, thinking, oh, this guy's going to go out there and style on Derek Lewis. And sometimes it happens, but sometimes it doesn't. And this is a case where Sergey Spivak is a pretty big favorite, and I agree, absolutely. Like, he should go out there and take down Derek Lewis at will and eventually finish him and make him quit. But, Derek Lewis, it only takes one shot. This guy has so much power. So am I laying minus 195 on Sergey Spivak? Absolutely not. I learned my lesson a long time ago not to do that. What I do like, though, a lot is the fight doesn't go to decision, which is not a hot take. It's like minus 800 now. It's got smashed throughout the week. It's like minus 1,000 on FanDuel. But I like these unders. I like the under 4.5 as a parlay piece, the under 3.5 as a parlay piece. I don't mind the under 2.5, and I even don't hate the under 1.5 at even money. I think this fight does finish fairly early. We got a striker versus grappler. Either Derek Lewis is going to knock him out on the feet. We've seen Spivak knocked out twice in the first round in the UFC, or Spivak's going to take him down and just beat him up and make him quit. So I'm picking Spivak, but you don't want to have a ton of confidence, picking against Derek Lewis. It's just not. It's terrifying picking against Derek Lewis and betting against the guy. But I like violence here. And I do have the under 3.5 parlayed in two different parlays. So my night pretty much comes down to the fight ending under 3.5 rounds. So we'll go over my bets. Like I said, only 5 bets, guys. I mean, it's a sketchy card. Like, I have a freaking bet on Chase Sherman. I mean, if that tells you anything. So yeah, keeping it light. I had a monster week last week. I don't want to give it all back on this week. It's rough. It's rough this week. But my parlays, the first one was the one we did last week. They had the Ryan Spann, Dominic Reyes fight doesn't go to decision, parlayed with Jack Della Maddalena. That came out to minus 150. The Spann fight finished, which was good. Now I have 1.5 units on Jack Della Maddalena at minus 150 to close out that parlay. The next parlay is Derek Lewis, Sergey Spivak, under 3.5 rounds, parlayed with the Jack Della Maddalena, Danny Roberts fight doesn't go to decision. That comes out to minus 155, and I have 1.55 units on that. And then the next parlay is Derek Lewis, Sergey Spivak, under 3.5 rounds, parlayed with the Andre Fiallo, Muslim Salikov, fight doesn't go to decision, minus 155, comes out to plus 105, and I have 1 unit on that. I have a half unit on the Chase Sherman, scorecards equals no action, the finish only, the decision no bet, plus 250, half a unit on that. And like I said, on FanDuel, which on FanDuel they do call it that decision no bet, it's plus 260. And last but not least, we got Ian Cutelaba wins by first round knockout, quarter unit plus 800. Spots I was tempted on. I was kind of tempted on Tercios, but don't know if I can trust. That guy's a nutcase, to be honest. So don't know if I want to trust him. And then I was kind of tempted on Demopolis by submission, but I completely missed the line on FanDuel. But I still don't hate it where it's at, but I'm not probably going to pull the trigger there. So keeping it light, short and sweet this week, couple parlays. We'll see what happens. hate this card from a betting perspective, but I think it's going to be a fun one. So we have a week off next week, and then 3 really good cards to close the year, hoping to finish strong. That is always the goal. It's been a great year thus far, and hoping just to keep it up and finish strong here. So leave a like on your way out, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and best of luck for UFC Vegas 65. Check out the live streams Friday. We did a live stream, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then Saturday, best bet 1 hour prior to the prelims, going live very early. I think the card starts at 1 Eastern. We'll be going live at 12. So check it out. Leave a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And best of luck for UFC Vegas 65. See ya.